I saw the preview and I was kind of like, well, like I love Jessie Buckley. I like A24. And I'm a defender of Midsummer, which is another
A24 or A24. Have I been saying it wrong?
I don't know what the right thing is. Okay. I used to say epitome is epitome. So like I could be wrong. I still look at, I think people say is it pen 15 is what they say?
Yeah.
I say pen 15.
Okay.
So I don't know. So A24 it could very well be A24. Actually, I think it is A24 and pen 15 is pen 15, which is annoying. If you're going to do a letters numbers thing, you guys be consistent. Fuck. Breath of Fresh movie 69. Not 69.
Yeah.
We should be 420 because we blaze.
Because and breath. Yeah.
Boffum 420.
420. Okay. Yeah. Get those tattooed. We'll get that taken care of.
You want to get tattoos together?
Maybe. I literally have one that I got when I was 19.
Wait, where?
It's on my back. It's like a little satellite. The problem is that like it looks a bit like the Death Star.
No, but that sounds awesome though.
So like
that's even better.
But the funny thing is, real nerds never mistake it for the Death Star because they know. No, it doesn't. The exhaust ports are all wrong.
If you could show me your back right now, I would probably be like, yeah, that is not the Death Star.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Proportionally speaking,
it's not that.
That is not a planet destroyer. Hey Victoria.
Hey Chelsea.
You know what I could use right now?
I don't know. I have no idea. What could you use?
Oh, that's crazy. Because I could use a Breath of Fresh movie.
We got one right here.
Oh, perfect.
That's a movie I like to see.
You're listening to a Breath of Fresh movie. That's a podcast where we watch
a
movie that neither one of us has ever seen before. And we talk about it. And I'm sitting across from
Chelsea Pope. I'm Chelsea Pope.
I was going to say the lovely Chelsea Pope.
Oh my God.
You cut me off.
You're the Spudnicky Victoria Harley.
Victoria the Valiant.
Victoria the Valiant.
I'll go with that.
Har har.
Yes. And we won't talk about everything, but we will talk about anything because.
So yeah, ye be
look
warned.
Out. That's the spoiler alert. Okay. This week's movie is the 1985 drama Smooth Talk.
I like the emphasis on the word drama.
It is some drama.
Because it does also simultaneously feel like such a Lifetime movie. Like it's such a...
It really did.
It's so melodramatic and schmaltzy and silly.
Very schmaltzy at times. Yeah. But redeemable in other ways.
Sure.
Like, what were your first impressions?
I mean, I will say it was not... it was a movie that was like 90% exposition, 5% action, like action and tension.
Yes.
Or like I would say maybe like 6 to 7% action and tension, and then about 2% payoff and then 1% credits at the end. That is what I think of Smooth Talk.
I think we got to make that pie chart.
Yeah, if we were doing a pie chart, or just as you're watching it, it's
what's that breakdown again? I'm gonna write this down.
So 90% exposition. 90. I'm not good at math, and we might mess up this percent.
We'll get
90% exposition. We're setting up
10% left.
Just like what a bitchy girl Laura Dern is, and her family dynamic. Then we got. I want to say I'm donating 5%. A whole 5% to the actual like tension and action of the story, and then I'm gonna donate
I think you said 3%?
3% to the falling action. I don't even want to give it that. I think that's already like too much. I really honestly already think it's too much. And then we're left with 2% as credits, the closing credits.
Yeah.
Actually, if I were to amend that, I would say 1% credits. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get rid of some of the falling action. Let's cut that down to 2%.
That's 2%.
I mean, it really just ends.
It really does.
It really does just end. Then all the other percentages for the credits are the same. And then all the remaining percentage points go to James Taylor just for like soundtrack. Okay. Just for music, which is also really funny in my mind too. Cause again, I was not like alive around this time when this came out. Sorry.
Yeah.
But just like the idea of this teen, of Laura Dern, the sex pot teen, is very like, I'm going to do what I want. Mom, or whatever, and she's like putting on jewelry, and then she's gyrating to James Taylor.
I mean, it's so funny. It really felt so. It was so unbelievable. I'm like, do they not have any music out in the country? Like, where are they?
No, he is the guy who wrote all the music for this. This movie. He's the Randy Newman.
Somebody
of this
obviously
movie.
had a James Taylor connection, and man, they leaned on it.
Yeah,
the James Taylor music,
which is also so non-threatening and so very kind of like
it's what you hear in a dentist's office.
Yeah, it's very saccharine. It's very like it's sterile. And so this movie about lost innocence, but then James Taylor is like the underlying soundtrack is very.
Yeah, that
would be like if I don't know, like it's so tonally dissonant to whatever the story maybe is trying to say. It feels like.
I agree. And I definitely think there's something, one thing we haven't mentioned is that this is adapted from a short story by Joyce Carol Oates called Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? Which shows up in a lot of anthologies, like a ton of them. It's
because nobody writes. So they just keep hitting her up and then you're like, Joyce. And she's like, God, like, I barely wrote anything. It's not even that good. She's like I think I can't remember who said it, but they were like, what are the 3 saddest words in the English language? Joyce Carol Oates, because her stories are so depressing. Yeah.
But this whole thing was based on, well, before I get into that, I just want to say like that my first impressions come from having read this.
Right.
And and it was one of those stories, it's a short story that I read that, I'll be honest, despite the fact there are lots of clues, I did not get that Arnold friend is the devil. And eventually it was explained to us because it's college and they're like, no, it's the reference
Arnold
is here.
friend.
An old fiend.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's all these other things though in the book or in the story that happen.
Such an on the nose, almost 30 Rock type of name when you think about it. Like Paul last name.
Paul last name. Yep. Lasname.
Dr. Spachemin.
Spachemin's great.
That's what Arnold friend feels like, name and performance wise.
Totally,
it feels so on the nose, but that's not to say that they're not.
I do think like despite the James Taylor and the strangeness of that, there were some things I felt like this definitely still tapped into a kind of adolescent vibe that I felt was very authentic.
Yeah.
There was like a scene where she's parked in the car with some dude and like the shot just lingers on them, and then she's like, the tension of whether or not he's gonna like undo this like lacy little shirt she has or whatever that's like all ribbon. I don't know what the hell was going on there. But she says something about how like, I'm not used to getting this excited, and there was just like this kind of something kind of funny but innocent about that, like that. That's how like nascent this is for her. Like she really has never gone this far before. Like we're watching her go as far as she's ever gone, and like there's something a little bit exciting about that, if that's not creepy to say.
No. Well, it's an interesting like thing too. Like as I'm watching this movie, it's like a lot of my mind's eye of Laura Dern is like as a full grown adult and whatnot. Right. So but
this was her first film.
Well, even watching this film, she does look very like like she does look out of place hanging out with the other girls. I feel like I almost wonder, and this is not me ragging on the majesty of Laura Dern. Don't come at me, Laura Dern stands.
We love her.
But no, she's wonderful. She does a great job in this film, but I do wonder if like maybe this would have like, I don't, there's a number of things at play that made this feel like corny and campy, but I wonder if there is a grittier sort of like more hard-hitting version of a story like this with like a girl who looks more like one of the other, like one of her 2 other friends that actually look 15.
I mean, the thing that's crazy is Laura Dern was a teenager.
She really wasn't she was only like maybe 17 or 18 in that. She just was very developed.
But like she has always looked, and I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way. Like she's just always looked like she's 40. And
it's not a bad thing at all.
It means that she looks
it's
great.
Almost, it's distracting how much of like how it sort of appealing she has in that
strong
way.
features, and she's only like in the way, and again, this is not meant this in the best possible way, but she has such strong features. They're somewhat masculine,
right?
And I think,
but not in a bad way. No, like,
but
I mean,
it's like,
she's
but like a good masculine face ages. Like hers is also like growing in like depth and complexity, and like she has, you know, the bone structure, right? That people are always crazy about.
No, she's a gorgeous woman. I want to clarify, she's gorgeous, and for different reasons, she's great casting for this.
Yeah,
but I think there's a part of me that wonders if there wouldn't be something a bit more haunting or like, sinister by having. I
feel like she's right. It's like almost like everyone else is wrong. Like, I mean, not to like be
like that no, please, please push back.
Because like I feel like
it.
I mean, I hear you. There's something wrong. Like something's not matching.
I think like,
but when I think about the performances, with the exception of maybe her mother, played by Mary Kay Place, who I adore.
Yes.
Apart from that, like I just feel like all the other performances were so empty and meaningless. Like the dad, who by the way is played by Levon Helm, who was really the drummer in the band.
I don't say this like lightly. Like he really is such a cuck in this movie. He is so like pointless and unimportant. Like a waste, and a waste of a figure.
And like that's all very true to the story. It's just that it's like they create this incredible heaviness, and this like lack of being understood. So that like when her family goes to the barbecue and she's finally home alone, you're like, oh, I remember that feeling of being a teenager and being allowed to stay home alone. You turn on all the things, all the music. You know, you do whatever you want. I do
like when she went from room to room and turned on all the radios and the screams.
Yes, that was. Yeah.
I did like that.
I mean, there was something really pure about that. And again, there are a lot of long takes. There's also an incredible visual motif of neglect that I know. Like everything is chipping. Like, I don't know what kind of dilapidated shit they're living in, but it's like you almost want her to run off, or you understand the appeal of like why the drive-in is such a big deal. It's got neon lights and young people and music and food, and
it makes a lot of sense that she'd want to be around like something, so because that house does feel like a sort of like a dilapidating beach shack kind of thing. Like you would like the last thing you want to do is hang out there. Like it feels
and you're right. The trustingly blind father and the suspicious mother both sort of contribute to her demise. Right. You know? Like neither one handles her the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that it is to a point where like the mom is just such a trope of like of being so shitty. But they're both shit. Like they're like, I mean, the way Laura acts in response to, like, they're both just so broadly like, like, where did I go wrong with you?
Yeah,
you know,
it was very broad.
You make me laugh. You make me want to laugh.
I do think that's a pretty awful thing to say to somebody.
You make me want to laugh.
Like, you make me want to laugh. Like
that's so fucking funny. That's so fucking funny, but also like it was you know, 10 out of 10 acting wise, and so much that like these lines are really,
they're sold
very unhinged but still sold.
Yeah,
like,
and
the melodrama is there, but
and I gotta say, like, you
sincere.
know, we haven't fully expressed the plot, but there's not much. This is a story about a bored teenager anxious to experience her sexuality, and then she draws the attention of a fiendish sort of fella at the drive-in.
A fiendish
fella who's played by Treat Williams.
And it's funny because he's the first person that's credited at the end of the film. He's the first person in the credits, and I was like,
what?
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, right.
I'm sure he has like this prolific career or whatever.
Oh, I know.
I don't care. I'm an asshole. I was just like, Treat Williams, this fucking guy. Laura Dern is why this is in the Criterion Collection.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this was only in the Criterion Collection because of Laura Dern's in this.
Maybe also like just the Joyce Carol Oates connection. Just because she's like very much
that as
prestige,
well,
you know,
and it is cinematic. Like it's not a well-made film in terms of
but you're right about its action. It is like 80 to give a different percentage.
So like, you like, feel free to, but you're wrong. Like pitch your percentage.
It's like 80% setup, you know, like, and I don't know what the rest is, but it's just everything builds
so much
to
of the movie.
And I think if I hadn't read the story, I would have no patience for this. But I knew where it was going, and I'm like, oh, but the devil's in this, and I'm like rubbing my hands, like, oh, this will be great. Right. I can't wait to see how they interpret this. And I was really let down because, and I get that, like, listen, the imagery you could write in a story is has a lot more flexibility
Sure.
than the imagery you have to create for the screen. You know, I mean, there's a
Right.
different kind of flexibility, but I get that, you know, maybe it didn't translate, but details like, you know, his hair kind of like looked like a wig, you know, like he was
Right.
covering something. He had, on closer inspection, it looked like he was actually wearing makeup. So like,
Yeah,
even
like
his
it's
skin out.
it's a missed opportunity that these things aren't explored. Like I said, you know, like they spend so much time kind of almost, again, like they really are like kind of going out of their way with this movie, like sexualizing Laura. Like it's like, okay, I'm not saying that some of this doesn't serve or isn't enjoyable, but like let's be real, like this is a bit like you're gilding the lily here. Like I want to see something a little more,
yeah.
you know, like the
Yeah.
promise of the A24 men a little bit.
Yeah, a little
let's
bit.
see a little more.
Yeah.
Let's see something a little more foreboding with all
Kind
of
of an
this.
A24
Like,
version of
not
Smooth
that I
Talk.
want to make it into this whole story about slut shaming or whatever, but I
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
like,
Well, I mean,
I think it starts getting to that point where we're going out of our way to make her be such a, we're really overextending the whole tease like setup with her. And then
They
we're
definitely-
really not,
they leaned on it too hard. Yeah.
yeah, like we're really not getting enough time with the stuff that actually makes a story, like where have you come from, where
Yeah,
have you
yeah.
been, or where you
Yeah,
yeah
close
where
enough.
where are you going, where have you been.
Yeah, there it is.
It's like what makes a story like that end up in an anthology is
Yeah.
because of that symbolic imagery. It is
Right.
because of this crux of action, or this sort of like, you know, the devil went down to George's shit. And you really just don't, you barely get any of that.
Yeah.
Even like the first time she meets him, and she's coming out of the diner with this other guy or whatever.
He's like, "I got
And
my
then
eye
he's
on
like,
you."
I got my eye on you. And he just looks like some dumbass pervert.
Yeah.
And I took him that way. And then it genuinely is like at one point, you know, like he does visit the house.
Yeah.
You know, which is part of that 5% action I told you.
Him showing up.
You know, is him actually showing up with his like weird ass friend and is like being threatening or whatever. And she hides away, but then she eventually like, it's unexplained, but she just like relents. Like she just comes to the door and then like
Yeah.
goes
And
to
I
him.
think-
And it's just like, it doesn't like,
Again, some of that I think is clearer in the story.
Sure,
It's like-
yeah.
Like I think
there's more like there's a bit more like they rushed all of that.
They really
and then they
rushed it.
cut away from like whatever's implied about what happened between the two of them
and
or
that's
whatever.
the thing. The story, the book or whatever.
Yeah.
The story.
Yeah.
It ends when she leaves with him,
Right.
and that's
We don't
it.
see her come
She does
back.
not come home. There is no resolution like that. The other thing that, you know, happens is that whole, like, why would she come out? Is because, like, he is really, like, he convinces her that, like, it'll be better if you just come with me now, because then I won't hurt your family.
Right.
And, like, her being as young as she is, and then him being, like, even if he's not the devil, just having that knowledge and that that ability for that capacity for deception,
Yeah.
like she's totally outgunned, you
Yeah.
know? And that's not her fault. She's not stupid. She's just young. Like, and it's about like that kind of predatoriness. And the book was, or the story was based on a real serial murderer in Tucson named Charles Schmidt. He was known as the Pied Piper of Tucson. He killed like 3 or 4 people in 1964 and 1965. And Life and Playboy magazines both covered the trial. So there's lots of press about it. He actually attempted escape and did escape at some point from prison.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
That's
Like,
wild.
took hostages and wound up at a Sonic. Anyway, he wrote poems in prison. That's another detail. But then eventually he was like stabbed to death by 2 fellow prisoners. So that's how that ended.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't get as many details about like what his MO was, but I think this ability to sort of talk these girls into whatever, you know, how do you...
Yeah, the smooth talk thing really, like, I feel like that didn't quite get to come into play the way I would have. I wanted to see that. It just became one of those things where he was just creepy and gross from the get and annoying.
Yeah, and it
then
wasn't-
she's hiding, and then it just sort of is like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, I guess I will go with you.
Well, and one of the other great
Like-
symbols, and it's in there a little bit, is that like if he's the devil, like the companion with him, Ellie, is Beelzebub. Like,
Yeah.
and so the appearance of flies, like the Lord of the Flies.
Right.
There's this scene where she's out sunbathing and there are a couple buzzing around, and I was like, oh, okay, we're getting there. But again, that wasn't hit hard enough. Like I only
Right.
knew that because I was looking for it.
Right.
I don't think it would necessarily connect.
Yeah, they didn't really lean into that kind of stuff as much.
I think they deliberately didn't go into the devil
Sure.
thing. And I think I just really wanted it to be about the devil, and they made it more about
I feel like it would have been
predator.
more compelling, but maybe that wasn't the time for that kind of movie to have gotten. Like if this were to be remade, I'd be intrigued by the idea of seeing it made in a drier, more, I guess, artsy
way,
kind of way. A little more devil imagery.
Yeah.
A little more ambiguity about her return.
Yeah, totally. It was released at Sundance in 1986, and it won the Grand Jury Prize. Don't know how that happened.
I don't know the other films that went out, so I guess this is a lot.
It was filmed mostly in Santa Rosa and Sebastopol, so up in Northern California. So it's very pretty. It was the director, Joyce Chopper, it was her husband who adapted Oates' story into a screenplay, and they optioned it for like $5,000 or something. Laura Dern was cast 2 weeks before the shoot. Like they did not have Connie. They saw a lot of people, and they were looking specifically. Joyce really wanted somebody who like embodied the duality, where you could seem both innocent and not, and I hate to like make it about like, is she a slut or is she a virgin? But that's kind of what they're asking for, And Laura Dern really, there is something really great about those scenes where she goes out in a baseball jersey and then, quickly undoes it when you're out of the house, stuffs it in a bag. Because like girls do that. Oh my God, we absolutely did that as teenagers.
Oh no, for sure. No, she definitely, I mean, if I'm being honest, she definitely leaned more into like the tease side of like, she didn't come off so innocent. Yeah. Like but when it gets to the point where Arnold Friend and fucking whatever, they when they show up, then it's like, oh, you really do see that fear.
You really are.
Which actually started feeling very sort of, I got nostalgic for Jurassic Park when she was hiding from them. Yeah. Because it reminded me of when she's hiding from the fucking raptors, and then she thinks Samuel L. Jackson's arms on her, and it's just like a ripped off doctor. Yeah, it very much felt like that.
Best scene.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so funny too.
Incredible acting.
That right now there's a little Twitter discourse going on around like, the age difference between Laura Dern and Sam Neill.
Stupid.
I just don't give a
care.
shit.
I don't fucking care.
Also, they're both hot. Who cares? Like,
yeah, who cares?
Also, Laura Dern has always looked 40. Okay.
Exactly. No, truly. Like,
the reason you didn't notice is because of the way she looks.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I really didn't see, like, not to be a dick, but I did not see a difference between the two of them. Age-wise, I was like, that's appropriate. And actually, it still is appropriate. Yeah. I don't the age difference stuff. I don't know. I mean, get political or whatever, but just like,
it's not.
I don't know.
I'm just like, this.
Like if they're like, don't date a high schooler, obviously.
This
but
is
like,
not the thing to be focused on right now.
That's a dumb thing.
Like it's just
Jurassic Park is an immaculate film. The casting is perfect.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Same.
She's great.
I'm with you. Okay. A review or two.
Oh, okay.
The New York Times, Vincent Canby said, a remarkably fine film about the muddle of emotions that separates the child from the adult. Okay.
Yeah, like, okay.
This one's a little revealing. Roger Ebert, sexy beyond their own knowledge, they parade through the mall, attracting the attention they do not know how to handle. Dern is a chameleon who looks 12 in one shot and 18 in the next. Not horror, not teenage, a study in deviant psychology. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Deviant psychology. See, I like, but it's like I would have liked
more of that.
Like I would have been into more of.
I know
that shit. Like I feel like this movie was so much more about like,
yeah,
it sort of romanticizing and idealizing, Laura Dern.
Yeah,
like as an object and a figure, and then we just barely get to see. We see her getting terrorized for a second, then we don't see anything of consequence. And then we just see that she comes back and he's like, I took you for a ride and that's what this was.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I hated the way it ended. Like, I mean, again, I like the bleakness of it just ending of her gone, because then it's like, oh God, what's happened? But it's like she comes back and has this rectifying... It's like the ending...
It felt like, yeah.
It was like somebody watched it and was like, we need a win.
Yeah, it was almost like an ending that came from like a focus group being like, I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like her going off with the devil and dying or getting raped and killed or something. You know, not that I'm not saying I'm going to get off on that, but like the reality is just like that if you want a hard hitting story here.
Focus groups say the most crazy shit. Like,
it very much feels like a focus group ending.
Could she be taller?
I mean,
stuff that you can't change. Like,
right. Yeah. Like she's a little short.
She kind of reminds me of like an ex-girlfriend of mine. So I didn't really like her.
Yeah. She kind of reminds me of my ex.
Yeah. So I didn't like this movie. This came out in 1985. Just a few other movies that were out in the theaters around that same time. Rocky 4.
Okay.
Death Wish 3.
Oh.
Back to the Future and Summer Rental were part of 85. The Breakfast Club, Goonies, Better Off Dead, After Hours, Once Bitten, and The Reanimator. There's other stuff too, but just to give some people context.
I mean, you want a story that's well paced and well structured. You watch Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. And then you watch Summer Rental for like John Candy for like a couple funny bits. Actually, don't watch Summer Rental.
No, don't.
Just don't.
Stay away.
Just don't.
Listen
to our episode about it, but don't.
Yeah.
You don't
Definitely listen to our episode about it.
You don't have to watch it. You can watch Smooth Talk. Well, in terms of jumping ahead to like rewatchability,
I don't think so.
Pretty low for me.
I'm not going to watch
being
this.
honest with this.
I wouldn't even show this to somebody.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like if you're a real cinephile, like you really wanted to see Laura Dern's like backlog, and I'm like, okay, for your edification,
if
sure.
If you're a Dern head and you just have to see all Dern,
you're a Dernophile.
This is her, first film. They literally plucked her off a beach in Malibu. Like,
no, but she's legacy, right? She's a legacy kid with Bruce Dern.
Yeah.
So not to shit on it, like she's very talented.
No, it's funny how
I'll shit on a legacy kid and a nepotism kid any day, but she's legit. She earned her.
We love Laura.
I like Laura Dern. She's great.
Good. Quick few notes about the director, Joyce Chopra. Female director. I don't hardly need to say that. She was born in New York City.
It's important, actually, I think, because this does feel very male gazy, this movie, actually. It really does feel very male gazy. I was surprised when I saw that when I wikied it, because I was like, this does feel like, I don't know, is this deliberately supposed to be I mean, like a mislead of some sort?
Possibly.
Or
I mean,
like,
I wonder
what's the tactic?
It's like, are we supposed to see her the way a predator would?
Yeah, because for a second there, I was like,
I was worried for her.
Yeah.
Like, especially, and again, she had that like that halter lace up thing that just looked like
me want to laugh.
Just
so I can't
you could
stop
just like a shoelace, you could just untie it, and the whole thing. It was just, anyway. I was very worried about that shirt.
You can be a real bitch sometimes. That sister, when she just said that, I was just like, after they were having what seemed like a tender moment, and then she pulls me. She's like, yeah, you're a real bitch sometimes. What is it?
Oh man, I wrote down.
Fuck, I know. I texted it to you. I texted it to you almost verbatim when
it was like, oh, here it is. It's her sister June, who's praised constantly. Like, Connie is the black sheep, and June's the good girl, but June says, "You're gonna have it all, and you think you deserve it." Like, she was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know. I thought that was great. You make me want to laugh. I like when she screamed, "You cockroaches." Joyce attended Brandeis University, where she got an MA, and she opened a European-style coffee house called Club 47.
Yeah.
But it was in the Harvard Square neighborhood, kind of in the Cambridge folk scene of the late 50s, I guess, really blossomed here. And she was running like a club for that. So she was a very happening kind of woman, like, in her time. And then she started making documentary films in sort of the early 60s. Mm-hmm. And the first thing not the first thing, but one of the documentaries she made that is very, has been critically acclaimed, is an autobiographical documentary called Joyce at 34. And it's about how her pregnancy will impact her career. And it's definitely been hailed by feminists, of course, as like a great, like, document in.
Yeah.
She also made a couple of other things. Like, she made a documentary about Martina Horner, who was, I guess, the president of Radcliffe College. She made another film called Girls at 12, very similar to the Joyce at 34 idea. And it's focused on that, when girls go from 12 to 13. So very similar to the themes in here, you know, but a documentary. She did another one about, that might have been I don't know if that was a documentary or not. I'm getting my stuff mixed up. But then,
okay.
you know, in the 80s, she does Smooth Talk. And this is her first narrative feature. So those were dogs. And she did The Lemon Sisters in 1990, which I don't even know what that is. I just saw it and I'm like, all right.
All right.
She did a few TV series, a few made-for-TV movies, a PBS special. She's definitely worked. Like, she's been, you know, she's had a pretty successful career, particularly, you know, when you consider the time period she came up in.
Yeah.
So,
good for her.
yeah, well done, Joyce.
Good for her.
You know, documentary. I know in the 70s, it's not like, it's a little sexier now, but it gets more money now. People are more into it now.
Yeah.
So it was a little thankless, I think, in her time.
Yeah.
But anyway, a little bit about Joyce.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Joyce.
Good for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, rewatchability. No, I would not watch this again.
Yeah. After praise, you know, I'll do praise.
You know what's funny? I wrote yes on here, but I'm like, no, that's not true.
Well, yeah, just I mean, there's some stuff that's somewhat like I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
I am glad I watched it, but
Same,
like
but I'm good.
I would not. I am really glad it was only about 90 minutes.
Oh God, yeah.
It was I felt almost like I want
felt
to say
longer.
after like the first 10, I was like, when are we going to see some action? And then we really didn't until, and I was looking at the time stamps on this. It was like the last.
Sorry.
There's a kitty went in.
I just saw an arm.
I just want a kitty inside to come in.
Anyway,
yeah, the thing with the timestamps, I was like, okay, yeah. So when's the tension going to build? And truly, like the movie was like 75% done when Friend like pulls up.
Yeah.
It's maybe a 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
And then you get less than 5 minutes
After.
of a resolution,
Yeah.
and it's done. And you're just like, that was
It was a lot of waiting.
a lot of waiting. Like they really waited to tell the short story, and basically the short story is actually only about the last 30 minutes of it, maybe.
Yeah.
Shave off the last 5 minutes of it, and then the 30 minutes before that is the actual like short story, and then everything before that is like
Set up.
really honestly inconsequential. I didn't fucking need any of that.
No, it
the
was
stuff about the painting of the house or all this stuff. I'm just like,
again, things that are metaphors that work well in like a literary piece.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to translate to film, even though you think, oh, that's visual, that should work, but it's like, like, how are we meditating on it? Are people? What is the?
How are you putting it in motion is the thing. I mean, that's not to say like, yeah, I could sit here and explain how I can theorize why it's important about the painting or about the house or about the location or about
this isn't
this
like a
dynamic
college English literature.
Yeah,
class.
but at the same time, yeah, exactly. Like if you really wanted to get into why it's discussed in these college courses, you want to look at like the actual dynamic and the outcome of the story, which you don't get to for so long in this movie.
It feels like it ought to have been a short.
Yeah.
Or something else. I don't know. Or maybe not even this.
Yeah, or just at the or they really could have leaned into the darkness a bit more.
They could have,
but they stayed in a very sort of saccharine place with it, and a very
James
Lifetime
Taylor.
story.
Yeah,
James Taylor.
That really set the tone.
Yeah,
and he's covering a song that like there's an older, more energized version of that from like the 50s. Anyway, best supporting player. Any nominations?
Best supporting player.
I mean, people probably know what mine is, but
yeah,
Mary Kay plays. I mean,
yeah, the mom's great. I mean,
Oh, she licked my toe. She licked it. She yucky. She yucky girl. She licked my toe.
I just want to mention Mary Kay Place has been in a ton of stuff, but she used to write for TV back in the day. She wrote for MASH. She wrote for Mary Tyler Moore. She was a PA to Tim Conway. She was, of course, in Citizen Ruth, being John Malkovich. She plays Maria Bamford's mother in Lady Dynamite.
Yeah, there you go. No, she's been in a ton of stuff.
She's great.
She's dynamic,
She's
and it's
so
one of those
funny.
things you almost think like you're like, oh, I wouldn't hate to have seen more of that.
Yeah, they didn't use her well enough. I think they used her as kind of bland mom.
Exactly.
And they didn't tap into her.
There's a lot of untapped potential with a story like this that like makes me think like, yeah, if this was readapted and brought to like a little more of a sinister place a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like wanting to see like women get abused. I'm just saying if you wanted to make a more hard-hitting story about the loss of innocence.
But this is a story based on a serial murderer. Like, so
yeah,
it's like
there's that exactly. And also too,
it was like a Lifetime movie. You're so
it
right.
really was. was. And I will say too, going off of the supporting actor thing, this is just me watching this on an already kind of not fully engaged level,
right?
That we're trying to be, but not
I
fully.
had to work hard to focus
when we were messaging, and the first thing I was thinking as soon as I saw the sister was like, "That's Amadeus's wife."
Yes,
that's Amadeus's wife, Constanza, Stanzi, Wolfie, Wolfie.
Oh my Wolfie. Yeah, Jennifer Barrett.
She's great. And then it was also like, and then I remember like I spent too much time spiraling on Wikipedia, just being like, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Where'd that girl go? And then she married what's his face, who's on one of the best Community episodes.
Oh shit.
He was also on Grounded for Life. It's the what's his face? The kind of tweaky looking dude.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's the one. Did you watch Community?
Kevin McDonald?
No, not Kevin McDonald. He's this guy.
Wait, that's not the right answer. That's not his right name.
No. But I feel like you probably
was he the uncle in Grounded for Life?
He's like kind of like the
what do you mean? There's no change.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
I have to look up his
but
name.
Specifically on Community, he's the one who's playing like the conspiracy theory.
Yeah, he was
whatever,
perfect at that.
Which is
because
one
I
of
know
the best
Donald
episodes.
Logue was the dad in Grounded for Life.
Yeah.
It's gonna drive me fucking crazy.
And they're like, I was like, oh,
Kevin Corrigan.
There you go. You got the first name right.
You got the first name right. But
I
Kevin
didn't get
McDonald
any of the
is
names right,
a kid in the hall and also the name of a director. Anyway. Kevin Corrigan, ladies and gentlemen.
And a guy I did improv with, but that's a different guy with the same name.
Yeah. All right. Well, so like us, please.
Like and subscribe.
Just
please.
like us in general, but follow, and subscribe.
Like us.
We can always use Apple podcast reviews or reviews anywhere that are positive. That would be great.
Please.
You can write to us at abreathoffreshmovie@gmail.com. We love email.
A breath of flesh movie.
Did I kind of fuck that one up?
No, okay. A breath of fresh movie.
Yeah.
Flesh movie. That should be like when
that'll
we
be
do
our
like
porn
a Halloween.
offshoot.
Yeah, when we do a porn. Yeah, when we do like a porn version of
Breath
this.
of Flesh movie. Oh my god.
I would do a porn.
Better
podcast.
Copyright that.
I'd do a porn. Actually, no, that would get tedious really quickly.
It would get incredibly
tedious.
tedious.
Don't care. I don't really.
We would have
popular opinion. I don't care for porn. Actually,
it's very boring. I feel like we'd have to come up with a way to make it fun. We'd have to come up with a bingo board.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this offline.
Yeah, exactly.